Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom!
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
And we are back with the DVD and Blu-ray section of tonight's show. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're listening live on Spreaker, remember you can join us in the chat room. If not, then you can check us out on our website, mondaymovieshow.co.uk as well. So feel free to check us on there and reach us through details on there too. Coming up in this half of the show, we have the DVD and Blu-ray top 10 and reviews of these movies.
Comedy film, well, comedy has been really nice to it. The Dictator, Cabin in the Woods, a horror film which I adore, not giving much away. The insane over-the-top action film, The Raid, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, second animated Resident Evil film with Resident Evil Damnation, Scottish comedy film, Angel Share, and this week's DVD alternative is Nightwatch or Noche Dosa.
Yeah, which I'm not going to try and pronounce because it's a name that I'll get wrong. Before we go into the top 10, we have in the chat room Mr. Moobs, who asked, what is the film Tiger in the Bathroom quote from? Really? You don't know what that's from?
It's from one of my worst two films I've ever seen.
I like the first one. I don't like the second one. I like the first one.
I didn't like any of them.
Yeah, we'll leave him that clue and see if he figures it out by the end of the show. If not, we'll tell him later. But let's go straight into the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, starting at number 10 with Taken.
Where's my family? Taken 2 is out in a couple of weeks' time, and so it's down to the fact that the reason why Taken's in the top 10 because people are interested to see Liam Neeson run around checking where's my family, so he can hunt down his family again in the sequel. Taken is Liam Neeson doing what he does best. It's an insane action thriller kind of film, and so like I said, that's the reason why it's in the top 10.
Number 9, this will be interesting, Battleship.
Awful film, absolutely god-awful film. It's so dumb that it makes people who have had a lobotomy, who's had another lobotomy on top of that, I don't know how the hell that's possible, it makes them look like Stephen Hawkins. It is insanely dumb. Taylor Kitsch is an actor who I can't see good things for him. Even in the film that we reviewed, Savages, he was not very good in that, even though he was more tolerable in Savages. This is just a completely forgettable, awful action film that's a rip-off of Transformers, and why would you want to rip that off? With Independence Day thrown in.
The number 8 film, I think I'll leave the title to you, because you can do it in the voice.
No, I'm not doing the Minion voice again.
Just do it. Come on, once do the title. That's it.
Despicable Me.
Oh, no. Do it properly. If you can't do it properly, don't do it.
There you go. Happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Despicable Me, like I said, I've just ridiculed myself there on this stupid little movie podcast, but yeah, it's a funny animated comedy film because of the little minions that are in it. They're getting their own film in 2013 along with the sequel to Despicable Me. It's quite enjoyable, but if the minions weren't in it, I don't think the film would have been anywhere as good as it is.
Booger's just replied, any film like Transformers is good.
Again, I am going to have another word with him.
At number 7, although God knows why, it's Glee, the complete third season.
Yeah, I was going to say Glee seems to be doing good for itself, but I've noticed that ratings for it has slumped in America.
Maybe it'll get cancelled soon then.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it's the next series, because the 4th series has just started in America. I wouldn't be surprised if the next series might be its last, because, like I said, it is finding the fact that ratings are slumping, and once ratings slump, that's when they look at it and think, nope, we've got to get rid of it.
Number 5 is the Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists.
You've missed number 6, which is...
Oh, sorry, I have, yes. I can't count tonight, really. I can't. I just want to get through this quick, so I've got somewhere to go. Number 6 is Safe. Yes.
Safe is I'm going to stop that. Safe is it lives up to its name. It's Jason Statham in an action film where he plays the typical Jason Statham character. It's a very safe movie. Nothing special about the film itself. It's okay.
So number 5, The Pirates and the Adventure with Scientists.
Yeah, I've not actually seen this yet.
You've still not seen this? I thought you had seen it.
No.
It's Aardman animation. It's a good animation. It's perfectly fine, but I've seen it twice now. I saw it at the cinema and I saw it when it came out on DVD. And for me, it's okay. It's not really memorable, unfortunately. Number 4 is Avengers Assemble 6 movie collection.
Yeah, it's a collection of movies that lead up to the Avengers. Does it have both Iron Man films in it? Iron Man 1 and 2?
Yes, it does, as far as I believe. Yeah, it's got all of them. It's 6 films, so it's got Iron Man 1 and 2, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America, yeah.
Captain America, yeah. Each one of those movies, apart from Iron Man, are very average, because the original Iron Man is a really good film. I really liked it. The second one is not very good at all, and leading up to that, they're not very good. They're very average movies. It's a good job that it leads up to a fantastic film, which we'll get onto a little bit later.
Number 3 is The Hunger Games.
Yeah, the more people seem to watch The Hunger Games, the more they're actually even more divided with the film itself. It's split, you might as well see it in half. The fact that one half of it is sort of like this, it goes from bleak and depressing to really vibrant and insanely colourful to bleak and depressing. So it's a sandwich of... It's a really weird sandwich. It's a really good film. I'm reading the sequel at the moment, the second book, which the film itself is out next year, Catching Fire. I liked it. I thought it was a really good film.
You start talking about sandwiches, you're making me hungry. Number 2 is American Pie Reunion.
Ironic, isn't it? You're hungry for a sandwich and then you get a pie. American Pie Reunion. Yeah, American Pie Reunion. It belongs in the same line as the third film, The Wedding, because the fact that it's just not very funny at all. It tries to redo the film from 10 years prior, and it just doesn't work anymore. Those jokes have been done, and it's just rehashing the same thing.
Number 1, surprise, surprise, it's Barbie. No, it's Avengers Assemble.
Oh, I wanted to describe Barbie as well.
On you go.
Barbie was in last week, though.
Yeah.
Which was Avengers Assemble. I think everybody knows what Avengers Assemble is like. Everybody has practically seen it. If you don't own it or you've not seen it, then there's something seriously wrong with you. It's the culmination of the films that we've just described in the collection, and it's just Joss Whedon finally getting the break that he really does deserve. It's a brilliant film.
So that's the breakdown of this week's Blu-ray and Top 10. We'll be back right after this ad for the Holocaust.
Kids, there's nothing more cool than listening to a podcast you like. But if someone podcasts in a place or in a way that you find unfunny, that's no good. So what do? First, you say, lol no. Second, you tell them to GTFO. Third, you get some Holocaust in your luggoles. And most importantly, you have to tell someone. Like your parents, your teacher, or a police officer. We are the Holocaust. 9 o'clock, Wednesday nights, lolocaust.co.uk. We don't clash with The Apprentice anymore.
So let's go straight into our reviews. Stuart, take it away.
Yeah, this is for The Dictator. It's directed by Larry Charles. It's another one of the creations from Sacha Baron Cohen after he did Bruno and Borat. This centres around a dictator, General Aladdin. He's sort of like the leader of a made-up country. I'm hoping that it's a made-up country called Wadia. He's one of these dictators that is insane with power. Everything that he does, it explains in the opening bit of the film about what kind of character he's like. He fixed the Olympics, the Wadian Olympics. He even shoots some of the officials at this Olympics. It also, he's speaking to his people about the fact that they don't hold weapons of mass destruction and uranium, etc. Here's a clip which sets up how thick the dictator actually is as well.
Supreme Leader.
Nadal.
We are just months away from refining weapons-grade uranium, and we are set to test the missile next week.
It is too round on the top. It needs to be pointy. Round is not scary. Pointy is scary. This will put a smile on the faces of the enemy. They will think that it is a huge robot's dildo flying towards them.
No, Supreme Leader, the shape of the missile top has nothing to do with aerodynamics. It is about the payload delivery.
No, it sticks in the ground and then kaboom.
Supreme Leader, I think perhaps some of your information about bombs is coming from cartoons.
Nonsense. I have been watching research films.
In this film, just one question, was there a duck who, when the explosion happens, his bill goes around the back of his head, and then in order to talk, he has to put it back this way?
There was somebody who suffered a deformity like that, yeah.
Okay. I am now 100% sure that you are watching cartoons.
Indulge me. For 1 second, pretend that I'm an idiot.
Okay, I'm there.
So that's just sort of like a setup with how much of an idiot he actually is. The UN has asked him to come to America to explain why he's got uranium, and so he heads off going to America, obviously in the high fashion that he is. He has a big, huge, massive parade. He is then sort of like, he's took to the hotel where he's living, where he's staying actually. He's met by John C. Reilly's character, Clayton, which, according to IMDb, is uncredited, which is interesting. He kidnaps President Aladdin, cuts off his beard, and so Aladdin gets to the UN, try to say that he is Aladdin. However, he's been replaced by one of his lookalikes, and Aladdin sort of like, he gets help from Anna Faris's character Zoe, who's this sort of like hippie character who owns this shop where they sell natural items, and he tries to get help from her so he can get his power back in the way. Now, I'm using comedy as a broad word here because the fact that it's not a comedy. The name of the film perfectly describes what his character is like if you take away the Dictator part, because this character is so annoying. This movie is in my top 10 worst films of the year, because if it's a comedy where it's trying to make you laugh, and it doesn't make you laugh at all, it actually makes you repulsed because the character is so bad, and everything in this movie is so bad, then there's something seriously wrong with it. Now, I know I'm going to get comments constantly saying, well, it's a comedy because you don't like comedies. Yeah, I do like comedies. I like comedies.
It really is that bad. It really is that bad. To anyone who is going to say that, it really is that awful and that unfunny.
Yeah. I like comedies that make me laugh. I don't mind a bit of repulsion in comedies, but I like comedies that make me laugh. This doesn't even make me snigger. It just made me go, please let this 84-minute film end now. And that was after the first 5 minutes. This was the film that I was least looking forward to watching. And so if it's a movie that I'm least looking forward to watching, you'll think I have really low expectations. I had even lower expectation after finishing watching it, because I hated myself for having to watch it, and it's unfortunate I had to watch it because Andy saw it at the cinema, and so I had to be the one to review it on DVD. I hope I never get to see this again, and in future I am never reviewing a Sacha Baron Cohen film, even though he was really good in Hugo. So it's a horrible, really bad, terrible, terrible mess of a comedy that shouldn't even be deemed as a comedy. It shouldn't even be put in a bargain bin at a pound shop. It's terrible.
I have to see what your tune's like after you've seen Keith Lemon the film.
No, I really do hope that I never get to see that thing. I really hope it's out on a week where there's just all horror films, so you have to watch it.
No chance. Cabin in the Woods, which is directed by Drew Goddard, is written by the ever brilliant Joss Whedon of Avengers fame. Stars a group of friends. Amongst them, you have in there Chris Hemsworth, who plays Kurt. All these 5 friends that head off to stay at a cabin that one of their cousins has bought of someone. When they get there, they find it's a creepy sort of cabin out in the middle of nowhere. It's sort of isolated. There's a lake and everything. They all go swimming. They're all having fun and everything. And they then get to the evening where they start partying. They're playing some music and such, and they start playing games like Truth or Dare. Here's a clip.
Dana, Truth.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, I'm just skipping ahead. But you're gonna say dare, she's gonna dare you to do something you don't like, and then you'll puss out and say that you wanted truth all along.
Really? Okay, Jules. There. What the hell was that? It's the cellar door.
The wind must have blown it open.
That makes what kind of sense?
What do you think's down there?
Why don't we find out? Dana. I dare you.
So eventually they all go down into this cellar and look through there. There's hundreds of these little trinkets and things, bits and pieces, and from there things then get out of hand. And I'm not going to give any more further details away than that, because of the fact of the... If you know Joss Whedon stuff, you know how he can take a subject, completely turn it on its head and make it 10 times better, and you will never know what's coming. You will never expect it. It'll turn around and slap you in the face, and you'll be like, "Oh, that was brilliant! Slap me again." You will be like that. This film is no exception. His writing in this is brilliant. The ideas he has, the characters, and there's this other thing going on at the same time with those characters that there's another thing where these characters that are just talking and stuff, and it's brilliant. It is hysterical. There's parts in it. It's a horror film, but it is so funny and out there and brilliant, and the ideas on it. I laughed more than I have really in a comedy for a while, and there's bits in this which are sort of freaky and frightening and the typical horror thing, but then it just turns around, like I said, gives you a slap, and you're like, wow, that was brilliant. I don't like horror films, but I absolutely loved this. It is going to be, I think, in our top 10 films of the year, come end of the year.
Oh yeah. Can I just say, you need to heap a bit of praise also onto Drew Goddard, because Drew Goddard wrote this alongside Joss Whedon as well, and Drew Goddard's last thing he did was Cloverfield. Yeah, it's not even just the writing. The direction of it is so well handled. It is brilliantly put together. It is, and the editings that cuts between different things going on at the same time, without you having a lapse of going, "Oh, come on, what's going on in this? What's going on in this?" You are literally with it for the whole ride, and you love it. It's like I said, it's a film that it will slap you and you will love it for it and ask it for more. It's absolutely brilliant. I can't say any more than that about it, the story-wise, because I don't want to give it away, because I want people to experience it as I did. It's just brilliant. Even if you don't like horror films, check this out. Get it and watch it with as many people as possible, because it is an audience film. I will say that. Watch it with as many friends as you can, because it's one of those ones that you will get more out of it. Really check it out. I cannot say that more enough. Booger on the live chat said, "I loved it too, and I don't do horror films." So it is one of those films where it completely shatters the genre. If you know the kind of tone that is, it's like sort of like Critters, that kind of horror comedy sort of thing. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. Do not let this one go unwatched. It's much higher than Critters, because it's very rare that a film can come along, no matter in any genre, that can completely change the rules of the genre. The last time anything with Joss Whedon involved, yes, it will. Well, the last time a film did that when it was horror was Wes Craven's Scream. Scream changed the face of horror films. Unfortunately, you had too many copycats. Before that, in my opinion, it was A Nightmare on Elm Street. That completely reinvented horror films. So you can see the gaps between them. The fact that it's really rare that you'll see a film come along that changes the face of horror movies, or any movie in general. And this is a horror film changer. And the thing is, though, it's going to take so long before a movie can do something like The Cabin in the Woods, because if a movie tries to attempt to copy it in any way, shape or form, the only movie that I deem that's close to Cabin in the Woods in invention is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Because it's very similar in tone to that. So those two films, they deserve high plaudits for bringing horror more forward and showing the genre can be better than just torture. It can be fun. It can be fun. It's not. It doesn't have to be exhausting. It can be fun and a lot of laugh and very enjoyable. Yep. Next review. It's The Raid. It's directed by Gareth Evans. It's another film that deems the very little you know about it, the better, because it does have a simple storyline, but the very little you know about it, it's set in the Jakarta slums in this huge, massive tower block. A SWAT team of 20 is sent in to arrest... Now, I can't remember his name. I've got his name written down, but I can't remember his name. It's...
I can't think of his name either. No, I can't think of it. I'll look it up for you.
Tama,
yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, they're sent in for this guy who is this sort of like drug lord. He's really high up in this tower block, and everybody in this tower block where he is sort of like threatened him. And the SWAT team is sent in to try and capture him. The SWAT team slowly start to make their way up this tower block. They are spotted by a kid who activates the alarm. Tama then comes on the radio, on the tannoy, says to everybody in this tower block that if they kill this SWAT team, he will give them completely rent-free in this tower block. If they go against him and help this SWAT team, then they will be killed by him. And the rest of the film is this SWAT team trying to get to Tama, try and arrest him, but also trying to survive. That is the basic crux of the film itself. Now, this film is a martial arts movie. The martial art in the film is... Because I can't remember it.
Salat.
Yeah, it's something like that.
It's Salat. I can't. That's the short name for it, but it's Indonesian martial arts.
Yeah, and so it is a martial art film. Now, if you think that I have a problem with comedy films, martial art movies are my Achilles heel. They are the movies which I hate the most. I hate martial art movies above every single other film. I'll gladly sit down and watch a musical over a martial art film. This one, however...
Noted for future reference.
Yeah, I would, because I don't like them. I just cannot stand them. I've never liked a martial art film. But this one, however, has completely changed my perception on how a martial art movie should be made. Now, other American directors have gone in to try and do martial art films like this style. So the Wachowski brothers tried to do that, and other directors have done that. Gareth Evans is an unknown director from Wales who lives over in Indonesia, who's just gone, and you might as well see it. It reinvented the martial art movie. This is the second film in a row where a genre has been reinvented. This movie is a smart film. The choreography in this film is just insanely brilliant. Every movement, every action in this film is so well tightly choreographed. The fight scenes look really real. It's very brutal. It's very visceral. It's in Indonesian with English subtitles. But that should not put you off whatsoever, because the film flows at a really high tempo speed that you're not even bothered about what the people are seeing. You're more concentrating on the actions on screen. There is a storyline that leads throughout the film. It is a basic storyline. But I'm glad that the director decided to go with the basic storyline rather than trying to throw too much story at you, because the film itself needs to be seen because of the fight scenes. They are the star of the film. And I loved this film. I really did like The Raid, and it surprised me.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the same. I've seen it now a few times, and I saw it months ago at a preview, and I think I told you back then how brilliant it was.
Yeah.
It's such a really, really brilliant film. It's surprising these two films coming out in the same week, because they're both really up there.
It's going to be difficult us choosing our best film of the week then.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I'm going to move on though to How I Spent My Summer Vacation. It's a Mel Gibson film directed by Adrian Grunberg. It's written by Mel Gibson himself. Stars him as a guy who's just referred to as Driver, who in the film, at the start of the film, as you're introduced to him, is actually in a high-speed chase, being chased by the police, and crosses over in a quite interesting crash sequence into Mexico, where he's then arrested by the Mexican police, taken to a Mexican prison, and thrown in there, where he then sort of ends up becoming a part of, and it's not really run like a prison, it's part of this community. Essentially, he finds that it's run like a community. People are just allowed to walk in there, do whatever they want. There's no real sort of police controlling the inside of it. Police just keep everyone in, stop people from escaping. Inside it is essentially run like there's a kind of like a mob mentality to the top of it, which is then run by this one head guy. when Driver's in there, he finds there's this kid in there, and this kid is in there because of the fact people can have their families in there with them, they can pay to have them in. This kid, though, however, is in there being kept there by the mob guys for a particular reason, which I won't spoil. The whole thing is then all about Gibson's character learning the in and out of the prisons, trying to figure out and get one over on everyone so he can then walk out, essentially, and still get back to some of the money which he had left in his car, which was wrecked at the border. Now, the thing is with this is that this is Mel Gibson after he's had all these problems he's had. The last film that he did before this was The Beaver, which was a bit of a hit and miss, very odd film.
Didn't do very well at the box office. It absolutely bombed at the box office, The Beaver.
Yeah, it's and rightly so, because it just didn't know what it was doing. It didn't know what it was doing for tone. The tone of it was completely wrong. Didn't know if it was a horror, if it was a comedy or a sort of psychological thriller or something. But this is really returned to form for Mel Gibson. It's back to the old films he used to do back in the 80s and 90s. It's quite violent, quite graphic, because there's sort of shootout bits in it which are in slow motion, showing full details of people getting shot. There's all these things going on inside the prison, which is really not the place for a kid. As much as there's that kid there, you also got this sort of storyline going on with people on the outside who want to get Driver out because he knows where this money is that he was actually supposed to get for them. Now, the thing is, it's okay. It's returned to form. It's a decent film, but it's really just there's problems with it. It runs for just over an hour and a half, so it's not a long film by any means, but it feels like it goes on for a lot longer. There are certain points where you think, come on, get on with it. It drags on in the middle. There's this sort of subplot and thing involving this kid and his mother in there. And there's a subplot involving Peter Stormare, who's in the film, is one of the guys outside who wants to get Driver out so he can get the money. And it's kind of one of these things of too many things going on at once. It needed to be dumbed down to make it more entertaining and sped up a little bit. And it's odd. There are too many things in there that it's kind of like it's slowing it down. You're watching one thing happen, then it goes to another thing, then it goes to another thing, and you're like, what's happening with the first thing? I want to go back to that. There's too much happening at once. There's not enough sort of focus on each bit to kind of keep you interested in it for the full hour and a half, which is a shame because Mel Gibson is great in it. It's a great performance from him. It's just he really needed to work on the script a bit more and thin it out a bit.
Right, you caught me off guard there. I wasn't sure when you were finishing or not. Next film, it's Resident Evil Damnation. It's the second CG Resident Evil film. It's directed as the same. The original was directed by Makoto Kamiya. It's I've got a clip which sets up the start of the film. So here's the clip.
Moving into position.
Copy. I've got a clear view of you from the sky.
Great. Maybe you can help me find a clear route to the CIA drop-off. Looks like they're doing some serious renovations down here.
Listen to me carefully, Leon. Your mission has been aborted. The U.S. is going to pull out of the country.
What? I just got here. After taking me off furlough and sending me to this godforsaken place? What the hell?
Washington and the government there have decided to go their separate ways, so everyone has to leave, not just the embassy staff. All American citizens have been ordered to evacuate the country.
I don't give a damn about the politics. We've got confirmation that BOWs are being used in this war. If we don't stop them now, the same will happen everywhere else. Do you really want to see that?
This is a war, and things are different. No one can do anything without the backup of the American government, not even you.
Well then, I guess my only option is to lose my American citizenship for a while.
Leon!
She can tell him I got lost and missed my flight.
Right, before I go on with the rest of the review for Resident Evil Damnation, I was just looking on Twitter there, and I saw that somebody said that Cabin in the Woods was a terrible movie because it was far-fetched.
What? That's the reason I didn't like the film. The reason I didn't like the film because it was far-fetched.
Yeah.
Have they watched films recently? Have they been watching films from like the 1900s, 1920s or something? I mean, The Avengers is far-fetched, but loads of people love that.
Yeah, that was the whole point of Cabin in the Woods. Right, back to Resident Evil Damnation. This one is set in Russia. As you heard on the clip there, it centres around Leon Kennedy, who's been in numerous Resident Evil games. He's also cropping up in Resident Evil Retribution, which we are reviewing next week. Leon has been sent into Russia to find out what Russia is actually doing with these BOWs. As a matter of fact, he doesn't land in Russia, he actually lands in Croatia. To find out what the Russians are doing with these BOWs, the fact that they've been able to create something. It's the Los Plagos, which showed up in the fourth game, Resident Evil 4. And the Los Plagos is able to not only turn humans into zombies, but it also enables somebody to be able to take control of them. The prime example is there's a character in this film where he decides to inject himself with the Los Plagos because his religion thinks that this is the best way that the Russians can win a war. He decides to inject himself with the Los Plagos, and he's actually be able to take control of the Lickers. Now, the Lickers in the Resident Evil series are these really skinned creatures. So the whole film is Leon in Croatia to try and find out what the Russians are up to. However, obviously, things don't go to plan because he is attacked by the Russians in Croatia, specifically by the president of Russia, who is getting help from another character in the Resident Evil series, Ada Wong. She crops up for the umpteenth time in this. And so Leon has to try and survive, even though he's been told that he needs to get out of the country because the American government, the BSAA, is going to bomb the city because they cannot contain it anymore. The fact that they are using biological weapons, BOWs, to try and win a war which they shouldn't even be involved in the first place. Now, for a Resident Evil film, it's an interesting stance that Resident Evil has completely expanded beyond the original concept of what Resident Evil was. Resident Evil was set in smaller, enclosed locations, and it was shown that in the first film. The more the films have gone on, the live-action films, the more it's expanded into big, more open areas. And it's the same with this, the fact that now it involves the whole world rather than one specific area. And the fact that this is set in Russia, and it's got a more war-torn element, Russia and Croatia, it's got a more war-torn element to it. It makes the film much more interesting. The animation, the CG, is brilliant, is absolutely fantastic, specifically on the Lickers, because the design on them is so pinpoint and sharp. The detail is brilliant. Also, with the huge, massive nemesis which showed up in the third game, they crop up in this one for the first time in a Resident Evil film, and they're brilliantly designed. They are these big hulking brutes who can take anybody down with just a flick. And so I really liked Damnation. It's much better than some of the live action Resident Evil films. And so I highly recommend you going out and watching it if you're a fan of Resident Evil films or Resident Evil in general.
Shall I go on to the next one?
Yep.
Yep. The Angels Share, which is a Ken Loach film. It's filmed and set in Scotland, set in Glasgow primarily. Where you have a group of sort of, let's say they're unfortunate people who have then got into criminal sort of ways, been arrested, and at the start of the film, all these people are just turning up at court and they're being sentenced. They're all ending up just narrowly avoiding getting a jail term, and instead get themselves community service, where they then all meet up. The main character in this being Paul Brannigan, playing a character named Robbie, who is a new father. His girlfriend wants him to sort of clean up his life and get things sorted out. Her father and her brothers are all sort of really giving him a hard time and seriously sort of beating two shades out of him because of the fact they don't want him to have anything to do with her and the baby. And at the same time, he's trying to figure out how he can actually clean his life up because he wants to do that now that he's a father. When he's there, he meets the guy who's actually in charge, Harry, is in charge of the group, and they become sort of decent friends, there and a few of the others. That Harry introduces them to whiskey and the sort of the thing of whiskey tasting and the different kinds of blends and all of whiskey. Decides that he's going to take them to an actual whiskey tasting sort of party sort of thing in Edinburgh. Here's a clip.
Sorry, no clip.
Brilliant. Well, it's a whole thing of that. All of them come together in that they're at this sort of whiskey tasting and testing thing, and they're all sort of getting into that a bit. All sort of in the same situation where they are essentially living almost in poverty, and that's why they've ended up becoming what they've sort of criminal ways they've gone into.
One second. Do you want to play the clip? Because I found it.
Yes, play the clip. Go on.
Honestly, I really do suck at this.
What? What is that? What's he talking about?
Don't know.
That there? What is that?
But that big thing on top of the hill?
You can't miss that. Look at that.
Aye.
What is that?
That's Edinburgh Castle, Albert.
Is it?
Aye.
What did they put it up there for?
Are you checking the...
No, what did they put it up there for? Look at it.
Did they put it up? I know. You don't recognise Edinburgh Castle?
Oh, well, I wouldn't have been asking you.
Have you been living in the cupboard all your life, or what?
What's the matter with that, Harry?
Hey, is there no shortbread in your house? You're a fool. Hey? Next time you go home, check all the tins.
So you have one of the characters, Albert, who is really a bit of an idiot, and he just says things without thinking, and he doesn't really... Is one of the things that just is quite funny in the film. It's more of a drama than a comedy, but it has these moments in it which are laugh out loud funny. There's a moment, especially in particular, involving Albert right at the very start of the film, which is almost sort of kind of like worried but funny as well because of just something that someone says. I actually burst out laughing. I did that a couple of times. I wouldn't say I laughed a lot during the film, but there's a couple bits in it where I did uncontrollably burst out laughing. More at the character and what they say than really situations, so it's more to the dialogue point. As someone who lives in Scotland, so I know what it's like with that sort of the accent and the way people talk. It's really accurate. The language in it is quite strong a lot of time, and it's not angry or directed. It's just everyday in between words where someone's in the middle of a sentence, they just get put in the F in this and all this kind of thing. They're just mixed in there. So you need to be able to handle that, even though it's not really harsh. So I know some people will be offended by that, but that's their problem, really. Paul Brannigan in this as the lead, he's not really been in anything much before this. In fact, this might be his first acting role, and he's perfectly good in it. There's a decent film all around with him. You've got all the other characters in there. It's kind of like almost like a Trainspotting about whiskey instead of Trainspotting about drugs. And it's about them, how they then find this interest in whiskey, that then they find a way that they can then get their lives in order and see a way of getting out of the kind of the troubled areas they live in. It's surprising how much I enjoyed this. It's a decent film. It's well directed. I was looking forward to it. I didn't get a chance to see it at the cinema as much as I did want to. I know Stuart wants to see it as well, which I'm saying see it because I think you will enjoy it. But it's not as funny as I was hoping it to be because it's not a comedy. It is a drama, firstly. And there's some bits in it which I like. I said when he's getting a beating off his girlfriend's brothers and her father, they really go to town for him. They really do a number on him, and it shows the harshness of his life, which is what makes it so compelling and enjoyable as a film.
Yeah, in the live chat here, Boogers just said he had no idea what they were saying, so maybe we needed English subtitles there. And then Mr. Moobs came back and said this sounded like me. Yeah, no. I live in the northeast of England. I have sort of like a Mackham/Geordie accent. They're Scottish with two different accents.
If you want to hear it, this is what it sounds like to them. This is what I sound like when I'm out and about, because I live in Scotland. This is what I sound like. I talk like this. I have two accents.
Honestly, I do not sound Scottish, and I'm not even attempting a Scottish accent. No chance. I've done my accents for the night.
Yeah, let's go on to your alternative.
Yeah, it's Nightwatch or Noche No Idosa, which I always call it Noche No Idosa. I don't know why, I just call it Noche No Idosa.
You practice that far too much.
I know it. That's because I know it as Noche No Idosa. It's directed by Timur Bekmambetov, who's a director who I think Timur Bekmambetov, who I think is a director who's gone downhill slightly over the years. After he did Wanted, the films that he's released after that have not been very good at all. It's a good job that this is a really good film. Unfortunately, it was meant to be a trilogy. There was supposed to be Nightwatch, Deerwatch, and then I can't remember what the third one was going to be called. It was supposed to be part of a trilogy, and I don't know if he'll ever get round to doing the third one in the series. This one, it's a very simple story in a way. It's a fantasy kind of movie with bits of horror. It's the kind of thing that Del Toro likes to do. It centers around this child who is a weapon that the light side and the dark side want. It's set in Russia. And he's like this ultimate being in a way. The film itself is visually interesting to look at because Russia had never been known for their big films beforehand until this came out, and it sort of like put them on the map a little bit. Unfortunately, the sequel itself, Deerwatch, is not as good as Nightwatch, but Nightwatch is a really, really good film that you should hunt out and watch because I thought it was a really good film anyway.
Okay, so that's it for this film. What do you think? Film of the week?
Cabin in the Woods, DVD wise, but I'm going to surprisingly say Hysteria cinema wise because it did surprise me on how good it was.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting kind of thing. Cabin in the Woods for me, I had to say as well on DVD. And overall, I mean, I enjoyed Savages, but Cabin in the Woods really is the film of the week for me. Really surprised how much I enjoyed it and how people should see it, despite the person who didn't like it because it was far-fetched.
Far-fetched.
Yeah, that's just what.
Oh yeah, Lucas just said in the live chat, Avengers Blu-ray film forever. Oh, he has an Avengers crush.
Well, to Booger and everyone else who's been in the live chat, thanks for listening to us live and joining us in. We've got details of our site to check out, which is mondaymovieshow.co.uk. You can reach us on Twitter as well. I'm at AHDVD. Stuart is at Cryptic Tadpole, and there's also at Monday Movie Show. We're on Facebook. We're on iTunes, where we welcome you to go and give us a rating because we can't do it ourselves. And we're on YouTube as well now. We're also part of the Podgods Network, podgodsnetwork.com. And we have our friend site, which we are sort of working in partnership with as well. We're on there, and they pop up on here sometimes, followingthenerd.com as well. So until next Monday, when we are back at our normal time of 7:30, I've been Andrew.
And I'm not saying it. I told you last week I am not saying it because it's too cheesy.
Well, then come up with something else to say.
We'll catch you next week at 7:30.
Yes,
where we'll review Resident Evil and Looper, amongst other things.
Yes, which I have to go and see now. I'm off to see Looper. Haha, bye.
Lucky git. Yeah, so catch us next week.